Hi, this is Liz McCormick with Your Castle Real Estate, and I'm here today to give you 7 helpful tips to get your offer accepted in this fast-moving market. First, let's take a quick look at the 7 tips, and then I'll go into more detail on each one. Number 1 is add an escalation clause. 2, appraisal gap. 3, limited inspection items. 4, leaseback or post-occupancy agreement. 5, write a love letter. Number 6 is pick your lender wisely. And 7, pick your realtor or real estate agent. All right, number 1, let's talk about escalation clause. An escalation clause is added in the additional provisions to let the seller know that you are willing to go to a max number. So just for numbers sake, let's say you are offering $400,000, but it is a competitive market and you're going in wanting to be able to make your offer the highest, but while still saving you as much money as possible. So you're saying my offer starts at $400,000, but I'm willing to go up to say $420,000, and I'm going to do this in $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 increments. And those increments are going to go over any competing offer. If somebody else comes in with an offer at $410,000, say, then that would put you at $412,000 if you decide to do 2,000 increments. So now you're automatically the highest offer and you don't have to resubmit offers each time. You are also saying, but the max number that I will go to is $415,000 or $420,000, wherever you want your top price to be. And that's where you're most comfortable. Offer what you're comfortable with, and if it works out, then it's meant to be. So that is an escalation clause and how that is added. All right, now let's talk about number 2, an appraisal gap. An appraisal gap is going to ensure the seller that because this is a competitive market and that we are offering so much over asking, I mean, it could be 10, 20, I've seen 70, 80,000 over asking. It can get pretty wild out there. So the seller, you can offer whatever you want, but that doesn't mean that it's going to appraise for that. So the seller wants it to be guaranteed that they are going to get that amount that you are offering. So if you're offering $30,000 over asking, let's use the 400 mark again, and well, let's say you're at 430, but the offer or the list price was at 400,000. So you're adding an appraisal gap into the additional provisions, saying that if the house does not appraise for 430, that you will bring X amount of money to the closing table to make up that gap. Say the house appraises for 415, you're at 430, and you've already offered to bring 5,000 cash to closing. This is now already negotiated before you go under contract, so you don't have to do it later when the appraisal comes up. You're already saying, all right, 415, we'll go at 420. And now you've saved about $10,000 worth of money, and the seller has already agreed to this appraisal gap. Some people say they'll bring the full amount into closing, so maybe the full 15,000. You want to be careful about how much you are going to bring and make sure it's a realistic amount. I do like to set a certain amount, but some people aren't worried about that, and then you can just say that I will bring as much money that's needed to get to the contract price to guarantee that the seller does get that 430 mark. Appraisal gaps are great, and they are very effective as well. Let's talk about number 3, limited inspection items. Limited inspection items is when you are going to also put this in additional provisions, saying you are still going to do an inspection. I would never tell anyone to not do an inspection. So you're still going to do an inspection, but you're going to limit your items to, some people say health and safety. That one does get a little tricky because whose opinion is it that it's a health and safety issue if that comes up? You can also limit it to price, that you will not ask for anything over $3,000 worth of items. You can still ask for 3 items, 2 items, 5 items, 10 items, but the total amount will not go over $3,000. That does ensure that if a sewer line comes up or something big, you can still opt out and terminate from the contract and move on. Or you can say, this is acceptable to me and I am willing to take the house as is, but maybe a sewer line is needed. And if it's a $6,000 cost, you can ask for a $3,000 seller concession to help pay for that, or a different way to negotiate that price. Either way, it's only up to $3,000. This is helpful for the seller just to know they're not going to pay a huge amount in the inspection time. Some people do offer a large amount of money over the asking price and then expect to bring that money down by asking for a bunch during inspection. So sellers are cautious of that. All right, number 4 is lease back or a post-occupancy agreement. And we do like to call ahead of time, Rob and I, and ask the listing agent, what does your seller need or want in this offer, so that we present off the first time some things that are important to the seller. We ask if they are going to need a lease back. Maybe they're under contract on another house and they are going to need another week or 2 weeks in the house after closing. If that's the case, then we can write an agreement and a lease. So now at this point, the seller after closing would turn into a tenant and you are the owner and you are leasing it back to the seller. Say if it is 2 weeks, you can make that 2 weeks free, or we take your loan payment and we divide it by 30 or 31 days and break it down to a per day amount, and then charge the seller a per day amount, and they can then pay you that at closing, and they put a deposit down on the house. They still keep insurance and water, different things, electricity like that. They would pay for that. Those are all things that we can negotiate and talk about more. It can be up to 60 days is what a real estate agent or realtor is allowed to do for a lease back. Anything beyond that then is on the buyer and seller to agree outside of closing. It is a great way to be able to get your offer accepted if you want to say, hey, we'll give you 2 free weeks in the house. And that saves them money and helps you in that competitive market. Up to 60 days, and super helpful if that is something that is feasible for you to do in your living situation. Let's talk about number 5, love letter. It's so important to write a love letter. Listing agents don't always want to get love letters because there's a few issues with fair housing. They don't want their client to accept an offer based on race or family, anything like that. So it's something that is helpful on the buyer side, but not all listing agents will accept it and move it on to their seller. It is a nice way though, if the listing agent is willing to move it on to the seller, for you to make your offer more personal, not just about the numbers. So when you do write a love letter, it's nice to talk about yourself, your situation, why you love the house, what you're wanting to do in the house, different things like that. Create a great connection for you and them. If you already know that they have dogs, maybe mention that you have dogs. And really help the seller just connect with you on a different level. And sellers won't always say that that is why the offer is being accepted, if that is the case, and they should not. It should really be based on terms that you are offering. So strong terms are definitely number 1, and those are the items that we've already talked about. The appraisal gap, escalation clause, lease back, and limited inspection items. Price, of course, is usually number 1. But I'm trying to suggest other items that you can offer without adding more money. So yep, write a love letter, really important. Number 6, picking a lender. This is another way to make your offer stronger without adding more money. Picking the right lender is really important. I have had listing agents come to us before and say, we do want to accept your offer, but we're really concerned about the lender that you're using. If you're willing to switch your lender, we're willing to accept the offer. Banks and international things can be tricky to use. There's just so many policies that they have to follow, and maybe have to request from higher ups the approval to then get you approved. The lenders are not as much at risk about dates and deadlines as you are. It's your earnest money that is on the line. They're not going to lose $4,000, $10,000, $15,000 in earnest money if they don't meet these dates. You do. So it's really important that you work with somebody that is concerned about your money and meeting these dates and deadlines. I would choose somebody that is local. You can pick any lender you want. I know some agents that say this is our preferred lender and might give you 3 options, but it is important to know you can choose whatever lender you want. You are not stuck with anybody. And you can use a bank and you can use somebody that's more international. Choosing someone local though, they're aware of what our appraisal times are. They're aware of our market here. You can meet with them more in person, depending on COVID and how those things are working. But it is a way to be able to have that local knowledge on your side. And they don't always have as many restrictions, but it depends on what brokerage they work for as well. So just keep that in mind and maybe interview a few different lenders. All right, let's go through one more thing about lenders that I'd like to add. It is always nice with local lenders as well that they will call the listing agent after we submit the offer, and they'll give them a call. Now, banks and different other lenders will do this as well, but we usually do get this more often with local lenders. So whatever lender you choose, ask them if they're willing to do this. Call the listing agent after we submit the offer, and they're gonna tell the listing agent all these wonderful things about you and why you're so well qualified. And it is helpful to let the listing agent feel calm that this deal is gonna go through from beginning to end without any hiccups. And then if the listing agent feels comfortable, they're gonna pass that calm and productive kind of information onto the seller, and that makes it helpful for the seller to feel solid about your offer. All right, number 7, the last one on the list is it is really important to pick a realtor or an experienced real estate agent. There is a difference between realtors, real estate agents, brokers, sale professionals. They all, the last 3 kind of the names are interchangeable, but you're only allowed to be called a realtor if you do pay a membership due. And we are held at a higher standard. We take some extra classes are offered to us, but one specifically is the Code of Ethics. And we are held at a higher standard for that Code of Ethics. We are also supplied with a lot more information about the data, the laws that are going into effects and changing, and spreadsheets about the market and different things along those lines, and a bigger variety of classes depending on how you look at it. So I am with DMAR, which is the Denver Metro Association of Realtors. But there is also CAR, which is the Colorado Association of Realtors, and NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors. Usually you do pick a local one like DMAR or CAR, and that automatically makes you eligible for NAR. So going into that, picking a experienced real estate agent is going to make it really smooth on contracts and being able to supply you with some of the information that I've already given you in this video. They have the confidence and the knowledge on how to speak to other agents and move your deal forward. Also, picking a real estate agent or realtor that maybe works with a team or really closely with somebody else can be helpful. Rob and I work together and we make sure to plan all of our vacations separately so you're not bounced around to a bunch of different agents. We do hear a lot that is something that is a downfall and why they do like to work with us, because either Rob or I will always be there for you through showings, negotiations. We do conference calls together. We try to work as a whole and as a team. Instead of, sorry, this agent is going to be at this showing and now a different agent at another showing. Sorry, I'm out of town. This agent's going to fill you in on any information with your negotiations. You want to make sure that there's somebody that you trust and rely that's going to be with you from the beginning to the end. And you do get that with Rob and I. Another important part with Rob and I is that we are 2 very different people, which is great. We bring a whole to the experience, and we work really well together to support you through this process. It's important to know that in a competitive market like this, it does take an average of 4 to 6 times before you get an offer accepted. That can be really discouraging to write several offers, get yourself excited about a house, and then not get your offer accepted. But keep your head up. The right house is out there for you, and keep hitting the streets and going and looking at those houses, and you are gonna find the right one. Another way to help, that's why it's so important to pick an experienced real estate agent, is it's gonna cut down on maybe some of those times that you're gonna have to write offers and go through that. It's a great milestone to own your own home, and it's very rewarding in the end. We understand that this is the biggest purchase that you're ever gonna make in your life. And it's, for us, we get it that you're going into a house, you're spending maybe a half hour in it, and then you have to make a decision. Do I buy it? Do I not? And that is scary. I mean, how many hours, days, months do we spend researching the car we want to buy, or even the vacuum we want to buy? And here you are popping in and out of a house, your biggest purchase, 30 minutes. So we want to try and get you into the home as much as possible. And we like to be able to help you with anything that's concerning to you is concerning to us. Say if it's the furnace, then we're going to bring in a furnace professional to take a look at that. The sewer line. If it's a concern for you, we make it a concern for us to help you feel very comfortable in moving forward with your home purchase. All right, I hope you found all those tips very helpful. My name is Liz McCormick with Your Castle Real Estate. My partner is Rob Klassen, and we are the home team. If you have any questions, concerns, need some numbers for lenders, inspectors, or anything along those lines, please let us know. We are here to help, and we would love to help you find your dream home. My number is 303-907-5642. Rob Klassen's number is 720-320-6666. And reach out anytime, text, email, we're here to help, and we do respond quickly to any questions. Have a great day.